Hey peeps, I've got breaking news and I'm reporting live from the bed. 25 states across the country sued the Trump administration in regards to SNAP benefits because there are millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in a contingency account to fund SNAP programs during situations like this that Donald Trump refused to use to fund SNAP during the government shutdown. 25 states sued Donald Trump to use those funds so that SNAP benefits can be distributed. And the judge has ordered that the Trump administration must distribute those contingency funds so that SNAP benefits can be distributed. A federal judge in Rhode Island has temporarily ordered the Trump administration to continue funding benefits for SNAP, the federally funded Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Quote, the court is orally at this time ordering that USDA must distribute the contingency money timely or as soon as possible for the November 1st payments to be made. End quote. After an hour-long emergency hearing, Judge McConnell ruled that the suspension of SNAP funding is arbitrary and likely to cause irreparable harm, citing the terror felt by Americans who are scrambling to meet their basic nutritional needs. Quote, there is no doubt, and it is beyond argument that irreparable harm will begin to occur if it hasn't already occurred, and the terror it has caused some people about the availability of funding for food for their families, end quote. The decision comes one day before the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, which runs the SNAP program, was scheduled to freeze SNAP payments due to the ongoing government shutdown. SNAP generally requires $8.6 billion in funding every month to provide 41 million Americans benefits and administer to the program. Despite the ruling, it's not immediately clear how the judge's decision will be implemented and if it will take effect in time to help millions of Americans who rely on the funding, which means all that we have been doing to help our local pantries, church pantries, food banks, we still need to continue doing what we have been doing. I will continue with my plan. I'm heading out to Costco tomorrow to get $100 worth of food to stock a pantry and to stock some of these little library things these library boxes that we have around the city. I'm going to put some canned soup and some oatmeal packets and some sardines and some tuna in those little boxes. I saw a lady here on TikTok. She did that. So yeah, I was thinking of doing that, but I wasn't quite sure if it was acceptable. But when I saw that she did it, I'm going to go ahead and follow through. And I'm also going to provide some food for New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, who's also doing a food giveaway. So I will be continuing on with my plans. I hope you will continue on with yours because this is an evil-ass administration, right? Despite the ruling, it's not immediately clear how the judge's decision will be implemented and if it will take effect in time to help millions of Americans who rely on the funding. You know those evildoers, hold on. Sorry about that. You know those evildoers in the White House will drag their feet on this ruling. And you know they will ignore a ruling from a judge. They've been doing it since they've gotten back into the White House. So please continue on with your plans, but moving on with the article. Judge McConnell ordered the Trump administration to continue paying for the program using emergency funds and to notify the court by Monday how SNAP will be funded, ruling that stopping SNAP funding violated the Administrative Procedure Act because the funding decision was arbitrary and capricious. Judge McConnell said, quote, there has been no explanation, legitimate or otherwise, that's consistent with the APA as to why the contingency funds should not be used, end quote. A coalition of local governments, nonprofits, small businesses, and workers' rights organizations filed suit Thursday to challenge the pause in funding, arguing that the Trump administration has needlessly plunged SNAP into crisis by suspending benefits beginning Friday, despite having emergency funds that could be tapped. Quote, Americans will not be able to feed their families. Food pantries will be overwhelmed. Organizations will be forced to divert resources from core programs to accommodate those in need of assistance, and small businesses will lose substantial revenue that is critical to maintaining their labor force and supplier relationships. End quote. And here in Georgia, the state of Georgia, that old evil ass Brian Kemp, we've got hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in emergency funding that he could use to fund the SNAP program to feed families come November 1st. And he has ignored the questions on if he would do that. Yeah, and he's made no announcements of funding SNAP programs in lieu of the federal government. That's how these evil ass people, these evil ass Christians who will quote a Bible scripture in a minute and look down upon you who are doing everything you can to feed and help the less fortunate. They will look down upon you and quote Bible scripture to you. The administration has argued that the lapse of funding will cause irreparable harm and violates a federal law that prohibits arbitrary government actions. The ruling came as federal judge in Boston in a separate case ruled that the Trump administration's attempt to suspend SNAP funding is unlawful, but declined to immediately order that the program be funded. U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani reserved judgment about whether to issue a temporary restraining order, instead asking the Trump administration to advise the court whether they would authorize reduced SNAP benefits for November. She ordered the Trump administration to answer her question about reduced SNAP funding by Monday. Quote, for the reasons stated below, plaintiffs have standing to bring this action and are likely to succeed on their claim that defendant's suspension of SNAP benefits is unlawful. End quote. But she's not issuing a ruling to force the Trump administration to distribute those funds. Quote, where that suspension of benefits rested on an erroneous construction of the relevant statutory provisions, the court will allow defendants to consider whether they will authorize at least reduce SNAP benefits for November and report back to the court no later than Monday. Oh, she's going to put it in their hands and say, oh, I know you don't want to distribute SNAP funding to starving Americans, but would you think about reduced funding? Would you think about that? I'll give you till Monday. They don't want to provide any funding. The Trump administration was expected to appeal both of Friday's ruling. So it's going to be tied up in court. So please continue on with your idea of what you are going to do as far as helping your local food pantries. Please continue on with that plan because, yeah, the Trump administration is going to appeal those decisions. See, you give a demon an option that he didn't think about before, and you think he's going to come back with the lesser of the option? Child, I can't. I'll see y'all later.